Welcome to lesson 3. Today we're going to be working on the background of our abstract painting. And just to be having a look at this one again, remember last time you've put on all of your texture. So that texture is the foundation for what we'll be doing today. Texture is really important when you start to layer the color on top, because that's where it picks up the little subtle differences and allows you to have some cool blending going on. I think you'll really enjoy working on top of that texture. So for now, we're going to be ignoring the details on the top. So you can tell that these things get sort of splattered on at the very end. And also if you have collaged elements like the newspaper or the newsprint that we had looked at last time, that is going to happen later. That's for the fourth lesson. Today we're just basically focusing on a background color, and those background colors are going to capture the emotions of the song in a really powerful way. So you've got to have your color psychology sheet handy. Again, if you don't still have that in your notes somewhere, just go online and find out, like look up color psychology, and you'll find a chart that's very similar to one that we were using, and that should be fine. Okay, so for my psalm demo, remember I had selected Psalm 116 verse 7, and you'll remember how I had that all planned out, and you have your own plan that's all ready to go. I've got a contrast in mind, so I've got an unrestful area and a restful area. So if you've got contrast, this is where you can have a lot of fun with your color. So our next step is just to be putting this color all over the texture layer. This is a lot of fun. I know you're going to enjoy it. It's really fun when the paint picks up these funny bumps, and it does really cool things. So we're going to start on that right now. So even though our psalms are very different, what I picked is different from yours. I hope that this demo is going to be helpful for you. When we're doing our background color, the most important thing is that we work from dark to light. So I have an area up here that's going to be full of random unsettled colors, and they're also going to be somewhat negative colors. So I've put them out in order of dark to light, and I'm also going to apply them dark to light. That is really important. So just follow along, and of course your colors are going to be different, your shapes are going to be different, but the basic principle is still the same. Okay, so as I paint over these texture areas, do you see how if I use a dry brush, that texture all shows up? That's really fun, but we're going to save that for later. Later when we put our lights on top, then you'll get to use that. For now, your base layer should be pretty thick, pretty intense. So I'm going to be working from black in this corner, and then I'm going to gradually transition to red and then orange over here. So there's the black finished, and then really aim for a nice blended transition when you switch colors. So have them nice and blendy there. So I'll be filling this area now with red, and then I'll start to transition to orange until I get down to here where that peaceful stuff is supposed to start. So I'm just going to extend this orange area because I think I'm going to also transition into yellow. That way when I go into my green blues, then everything will mix nicely. You don't want to start putting greens into reds or oranges. Right, so I've bumped up the orange area, and now I'll start in with the yellows. So remember, this whole area represents chaos, turmoil, and a state of unrest. And I don't want it to, even though I've used black and red, I don't want it to look angry. It's more crazy than angry. Right, so that yellow can extend all the way up to here. So this gives me a really nice broad yellow area that I can use to start to mix the greens into. And then I'll go from green, turquoise, down to blue over here. Okay, so that's considered the base coat of the background, but remember how I was talking about the dry brush bringing out those fun textures? This is where you get to play around with that a bit. This area is red. If I were to take orange, which is slightly lighter, and with a dry brush, sort of drag over the textures, so you see how the textures will grab the dry brush and create a really interesting effect. So now the texture is coming out. So the key with texture is you're going to have a darker base, and when you drag the lighter color on top, all that texture starts to shine through. So experiment with that. It's really good to see some of that happening in your piece. Down here, where it's yellow, I'm just going to make a lighter yellow and do some of that dragging over here too. And the texture will grab the light yellow and just make it look slightly more interesting than if I were to just leave it flat. Okay, do you see how it's picking up there and how interesting that looks? So you're going to want to do a lot of that. And it's all about layering light over top of dark. The texture will grab it. Alright, so I'm going to start on the peaceful colors that are going on down here. Peaceful, angsty, and then this area is supposed to be a transition area. So it's going to be a little iffy. Again, I've got a whole variety of peaceful colors, and I've laid them out dark to light. That's really important because you start with dark and you layer your lights on top. So the base coat is going to be this dark purple and this dark blue. So I will just basically cover it just with a flat layer of these two colors. And then these lighter things are going to get layered on top of that. So if you don't have a variety of shades like I do, I just have all these bottles of paint around. Say you only have one blue, what you're going to do is help yourself to some white and then add the white to that blue to make your lighter colors. I'm sure you'll be able to find some white kicking around, but that will be the key to your different values if you don't happen to have a variety of paint around your house. So I've done the purple, dark blue. I'm on to the light blue. And then I'll put this turquoise up here. And hopefully that turquoise is going to blend nicely with the yellow that I put down so that it's not too abrupt of a change. I might have to do some extra blending here. So I'm going to carry this color up some of these texture lines. Sort of blend a bit here. I think that works pretty good. That's a decent transition between the two zones. Alright, so now that I've got a base color here, I'm going to start playing with dragging those lighter textures across. So I will refill my turquoise here. This is the lightest of all the blues. And I'm just going to mix some white into them to get them nice and light. So a couple of really light shades here. So now if I apply them with a dry brush, don't have too much on your brush or this doesn't work, then you should be able to pick up those textures the way we did up here. Especially on the really high ridges, they really create a cool effect. So keep your brush very dry and this should work fine for you. Okay, so you can see how all the textures are being picked up with the dry brush. Alright, so fiddle around with this layer for a little bit. The final layer we'll be doing next week in lesson 4. But for now, it'll probably take you a good hour to get this painting to a level that you're really happy with. Try to get some nice blends. I'm going to go back in and work on these transition areas and do a little bit more texture. But I'll show you at the end how it turns out. And then after that, there's only one step left, one lesson left. So we're really getting somewhere here. Have fun, and I'm going to show you one more shot of this when I'm happy with it. All right, so this is it after I've fiddled a bit more with the blending. So again, this is just our background. If you have any foreground shapes and colors, things like this, they all get layered on next time. So it's just the base. If you imagine this was gone, all the splotches were gone, that's what we're doing today. If you've got any collage, that also is happening next time. So don't worry about all that stuff for now. You just have a background, a successful color background that should capture the sentiments of the psalm that you picked. So I will see you again next week for lesson 4, and then our paintings will be finished.